Welcome to the deep dive. So you've brought us sources today that, well, they paint a pretty stunningly brutal picture of the Alaskan summer fishing season. Prince William Sound, near Cordova.
Yeah, it's not the idyllic postcard scene many might imagine. We're talking high stakes, big money, and intense pressure.
Right, not just fishing. It's this collision of corporate power, deep cultural traditions, and some really raw personal violence.
Absolutely. And it all centers around the red salmon rush. You have to understand these fish. They spend 5 years out in the North Pacific, then they come back sleek, fat, just frantic to get upriver.
Their spawning grounds, and for the commercial guys, this is it. This is the payday.
It's their gold rush, exactly. But it's chaotic.
Yeah, the sources really detail that chaos. The maneuvering, the drift nets, everyone trying to get right up against those creek markers, closest to the fish funnel.
And you've got the regulators, the fish hawks like Lamar Roush trying to keep a lid on it. But these skippers are determined. They need that catch.
But it wasn't just the usual fishing pressure this time, was it? There was this added layer. Political, economic.
Definitely economic driving the politics. It boils down to corporate pressure. Specifically, Denton Harvey, he was the superintendent for Whitfield Seafoods, big processor, owned by Hiroshi Limited.
Okay.
He made a call that just ignited everything.
Which was?
He dropped the price for red salmon down to 50 cents a pound.
50 cents. Okay, to someone like me, that maybe doesn't sound like a huge deal, but what does that actually mean on the water for the fishermen?
Oh, it was devastating. Just catastrophic. You gotta remember, these guys have massive costs, boat loans, impellers grinding away in that silty water, general overhead.
And wasn't there lingering stuff from the Exxon Valdez spill too? Like bitterness?
Yeah, exactly. That was only 9 years earlier, so there's already this feeling of vulnerability of being squeezed, and then boom, 50 cents a pound.
So they're not making money.
They're losing money, they're driving themselves into debt, just trying to operate, trying to maybe make enough to cover next year's gear. It wasn't just bad business, it was like corporate power directly creating this lethal pressure cooker out there.
Wow. Okay, so faced with, potential ruin, basically.
Yeah.
How did the fleet react?
Instantly. It just exploded into a widespread commercial strike. The word strike just hung over the sound.
But strikes always have that one person, right? The one who breaks ranks.
Always. And in this case, it was Calvin Meany. He had a drifter and a set net site, so he could keep fishing in multiple ways.
And he did, right through the strike.
He did. Earn himself the title Scab, universally hated. The sources even describe him having to, run this gauntlet of angry fishermen on the 4th of July. Just pure resentment.
Thick enough to cut with a sliming knife,
Yeah.
as the source says.
Exactly. But Meany, he was already a marked man long before the strike.
How so?
Well, the sources paint him as a truly brutal character, known poacher. A philanderer he was, involved with another fisherman's wife, Tim Sarakovikoff's wife, Myra.
Okay, so not winning friends there.
No. And maybe most importantly, a domestic tyrant. Just awful to his family. He wasn't just disliked. People actively despised him.
And that tyranny wasn't private. The sources mentioned something pretty horrific.
Yeah, a public display.
Huh.
Beating his own 15-year-old son, Frank. Knocked him into the water twice, just for a simple docking mistake. And the kid, he didn't even cry. Just conditioned to it.
That's chilling. And it sounds like maybe that wasn't just family stuff, like his way of doing business, too.
It seems like it. There are hints, subtle implications that he used threats, maybe involving their kids, to force the previous owners of his set net site, the Ursons, to sell it to him.
So it's all connected. The corporate pressure, his personal aggression, the abuse. It all sort of flows downhill.
Exactly. A really toxic mix.
Okay, so everyone hates Meany. He's crossed the strike line. He's publicly cruel. Why didn't the strike lead to his death? Why did it take something else?
Because ultimately, it wasn't about the money, not the final act anyway. It was about personal humiliation. The sequence on July 4th is really key.
Right. So Tim Sarakovikoff, the husband whose wife Meany was involved with?
He finds Meany in Cordova, and he just beats him severely. Around 8:30, 9:00 p.m. That was sort of the fleet's revenge, you could say.
But then Auntie Joy steps in. Joy Shugak.
Yeah, thank goodness for her. Breaks it up with a pitcher of ice water. Perfect timing. Then she forces Meany, beaten up, back to his boat. He trips, falls on the deck.
So Sarakovikoff beat him, but didn't kill him.
No. The beating was bad, but not fatal. And this is where it gets Much darker and more complex, because Meany's body is found later.
And the cause of death isn't just the beating.
Not at all. It's multiple things. Strangulation, his trachea was crushed, drowning water in the lungs, and then almost like an afterthought, or maybe a signature, a post-mortem stabbing with a sliming knife.
That's overkill. That suggests something more than just the heat of the moment anger from Sarakovnikov.
Exactly. It speaks to something deeper, years of resentment maybe, something more calculated.
And tragically, the violence didn't stop with Cal Meany.
No, it didn't. Which leads us to the second murder. Dana Meany, Cal's teenage daughter,
How was she killed?
found upstream in a backwater of Amartu Creek. Blunt force trauma to the head with a driftwood stick.
God, so who's responsible for both?
This is the twist. It wasn't Sarakovnikov. It wasn't someone from the striking fleet seeking revenge. It was Calvin's own brother, Neil Meany.
The brother, the one who was a scholar.
Yeah, a Yeats scholar, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Cal had forced him to work off alone as crew on the boat. Neil harbored this deep, quiet resentment from years of abuse. He said Cal was just like my father, who apparently hit them constantly.
So Neil found Cal after the beating.
Right. Cal's on the deck, hurt but alive. Neil approaches him, apparently pleads to go back to school to get out of this life.
And Cal.
Cal just laughed at him, and Neil snapped, hit him with a boat hook. Later, he actually confessed. He said he liked killing my brother.
Wow, okay, that explains Cal's death. But Donnie, why kill his own niece?
Because Donnie and the summer hire kid, Evan McCafferty, they saw something.
They saw Neil kill Cal.
They saw it, and they saw an opportunity. They tried to blackmail Neil. They wanted money, probably so they could leave Cordova, leave that whole scene. Money Neil desperately needed for tuition.
So Neil kills Donnie to silence her.
Exactly. And he chased McCafferty, who presumably got away. The motive shifted instantly from, this deep familial revenge to just pure self-preservation, trying to salvage his own future.
And his attempt to cover this all up, it involves a board game, the Monopoly Alibi.
Yes. This is such a brilliant piece of the investigation. Neil claimed he was at the Reverend Anne Flanagan's cabin playing Monopoly until 1:30 or 2:0 a.m.
Which would put him in the clear,
Yep.
because Cal's death was estimated around midnight.
Right. Solid alibi. Except when Trooper Jim Chopin questioned the Reverend, she mentioned they were playing Monopoly the short way.
The short way. What does that even mean? I mean, besides Monopoly taking forever normally.
It's like the turbo cutthroat version. You deal out all the deeds right at the start. You have to buy everything you land on. No collecting money when you land on free parking. It speeds the game up massively.
So how long did that game take?
Johnny Morgan, who was also there, confirmed it. 23 minutes.
23 minutes, not hours.
Not even close. It ended way earlier, giving Neil a huge window, plenty of time to get back to the bay, kill Calvin, deal with Danny later. The whole alibi just crumbled.
It's incredible that such a small detail, a variation on board game rules, could be the key.
Isn't it? And it's such a dark contrast, this game being played while murder is happening.
Which brings us to Neil's end.
Yeah.
He doesn't just get arrested.
No. He's cornered on his boat. Investigators are there. He confesses, and then he starts quoting Yeats. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold.
Finding some kind of twisted meaning in it all.
And then he chooses his exit. He starts the engine, knowing the boat is full of gas fumes. Intentionally blows the whole thing up. Suicide, but also trying to take the investigators, Kate Shugak and Trooper Chopin, with him.
A final violent act. The scholar consumed by the very thing he resented.
Yeah. But Neil's story, Cal's story, that's only part of the picture of survival here. To really get it, you need to look at the aunties.
Right. Auntie Joy, V, Edna, Balasha. They feel like the anchor in all this chaos.
They really do. Described as brown as berries, wizened as walnuts. They represent 1,000 years of fishing tradition in that spot, the old ways.
And their life at the fish camp, it's so different from the commercial frenzy.
Yeah.
Using the fish wheel, teaching the kid Johnny how to eat salmon roe right from the fish cold and salty, smoking fish with alder. It's about sustenance, tradition.
It seems that way. It's presented as this crucial counterpoint to the Meany's world. But
There's a but.
Kate, the investigator, discovers something else, the aunties. They're not just subsistence fishing.
What are they doing?
They're secretly processing commercial quantities of salmon, filleting it, packing it up nice, and selling it illegally to an independent buyer, this guy Joe Durrell.
So under the radar, bypassing the regulations.
Completely. And crucially, bypassing the cannery prices, the very prices that Whitfield Seafoods dropped, causing the strike. The aunties saw that, saw the squeeze, and basically said, nope, we're not playing that game. They found their own way to make it work, to sustain their community.
Even if it meant breaking the law.
Exactly. Rule breakers, but for community survival, not just individual greed like Meany.
And this brings us back brilliantly to the Monopoly game again, doesn't it?
It does, because how did the aunties teach Johnny to play Monopoly?
The most aggressive way possible. Buy everything you land on. Buy houses, but don't buy hotels, because that ties up the housing market and crushes opponents faster.
It's a perfect metaphor. They understand the rules of the game, the real economic game set by the state, and the corporations aren't fair. They're designed for domination. So the only way to survive is to play just as ruthlessly, just as aggressively, even if it's outside the official rules.
Wow. Okay, so let's just try and pull this all together. That July 4th period,
Yeah.
it was just complete chaos.
Total collapse of order. You had the price war, the strike, the public beating, then these brutal murders, finally the boat explosion. Just mayhem.
It feels like everyone was operating outside the rules. Meany the scab, Neil the killer brother, even the aunties, the keepers of tradition, all breaking rules just to survive.
Survival seems to be the driving force, yeah. And you see the painful legacy. Frank and Marion Meany get to escape back to Cincinnati, finally free because Cal is dead. But Neil, the killer, actually frames his brother's death as a gift from God. It's this really perverse sense of agency he found through violence.
It's so dark. And those little details from the investigation stick with you. Like that giant halibut cow caught earlier. So big they had to shoot it multiple times because it could, kick the fray to pieces.
Yeah, that struggle, that raw power, it mirrors everything else, doesn't it? Nature's own version of the fight for dominance.
It really does.
But the image that really encapsulates it all, I think, is the halibut's heart. After the fish was butchered, its heart was still on the deck railing, still beating, described as a dull red, humping lump of flesh. Single-minded, single-purposed, inexorable.
Relentless.
Exactly. And maybe that's the brutal truth this deep dive shows us. In this world, whether it's the natural world or the world of commerce and survival, it's only the most relentless hearts driven by profit or maybe by tradition that get to keep beating.
That's a terrifying thought to end on.
Oh.
Thanks for walking us through this incredibly complex and dark story.
But my pleasure. It's a powerful set of sources.
And for you, our listener, maybe something to think about. We saw the aunties breaking the law for what they saw as survival. Neil Meany claimed he killed out of survival from abuse. In a system that feels designed to crush you, is survival itself the ultimate justification for breaking the rules? Something to mull over until our next deep dive.